Good evening. We're back with more Lord of the Rings LCG, and tonight is the Steward Sphere on Nightmare difficulty. It's actually a pretty difficult quest. We get 2 additional plots with the Nightmare difficulty. And so to start, we're going to choose random numbers to select both the villain. Number 1 was chosen, and the plot, and in this case it's number 1. I don't know these quests well enough to know what the default ordering of the quests are, so I didn't bother to shuffle them and just chose one randomly because I don't know which villain or plot it is. But we'll just play the usual Outland strategy and hope for the best. Of course, the player is not intended to know what the villain or plot is when playing this quest. So we're getting set up. This deck I'm playing is a Monosphere Leadership version of Outlands with Lord of Morthond to draw a lot of cards, and Gildor and Inglorion as well. It's slower than the Errand-rider version. I play it in quests where I don't want to discard my whole deck because I need some of the cards, and one of the plots for this Steward Sphere punishes you if you don't have any cards left in the deck. I forget how. I took a look at them all beforehand, but can't remember which plot it was or exactly how it punishes you. I just knew that I wouldn't want to have an empty deck. So we've got some Underworld cards on the table. Did start off with a location, so no combat right away. And we're getting set up, but no Ethir Swordsman. The Anfalas Herdsman will draw us a card, thanks to Lord of Morthond. And I'm going to draw one with Gildor as well. That Knight of the Swan will get played next round. So just gonna quest for 6, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The beginning of the encounter phase, reveal the top card of the Underworld deck while that is in the staging area. So, encounter phase, it is an objective, so it gets discarded. You progress in this quest by clearing locations. You've got to clear 4 locations to get past phase 1. So we've got an Ethir Swordsman. That's going to draw a card. And either a Knight of the Swan or a Warrior of Lossarnach. The Warrior of Lossarnach will draw a card. The Knight of the Swan will draw a card. The Warrior of Lossarnach will not. I have Sneak Attack Gandalf in my hand as well. This deck I tend to use on longer quests, so I run 3 Sneak Attacks and 3 Gandalfs to reduce threat, to compensate for the slower nature of the deck. It can be used to draw cards as well. And once again, the card is an objective off the Underworld deck and it gets discarded. Those objectives can be useful, but in a way it's good that they're objectives and not enemies getting revealed. So I want to clear this quest here, or this location, so that I can get that Nightmare location out of the staging area. So that's going to be 8 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did I miscount there? I'm not sure. Oh yeah, I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Not 9. So I sneak attack with Gandalf to take out the Zealous Traitor, as I didn't want to get overwhelmed and I considered that the most dangerous one. Had to do it before he engaged, so I couldn't use Gandalf for combat with the sneak attack. All I got from him was the 4 direct damage. So we got the Nightmare location out of staging. So that's going to take out the enemies. In this Nightmare mode, they get shuffled back into the Underworld deck, as does the Zealous Traitor. Zealous Traitors can be a big deal if they come up repeatedly, and they can really clear your board out in a long game, so that's why I was willing to burn a sneak attack there. So I would like to find another Ethir Swordsman or a Faramir. And I've only cleared 1 location so far. Probably going to need Gandalf usages for threat reduction at some point. And it's a location, so I will clear the active location and so I need to exhaust each ready character or raise threat by 5 as the Underworld card, and exhausting each ready character is just fine in this situation. So I've cleared 2 locations, got to clear 4 in order to advance to phase 2. Sometimes in this quest it can be a challenge just to find the locations from the deck, so when an encounter card comes and it's a location, I'm pretty happy to see it. And I don't have much to do here. I could get out to a very good tail. Probably should do that. I was playing it very conservatively because I didn't know if the plot was the one that punishes the discards. So we got a Murderous Turncoat who makes an immediate attack. And probably going to use a chump blocker for him. Don't have to. Forlong could have tanked it. And we'll get that Underworld, that Nightmare location out of the staging area as soon as possible. And now Forlong's going to tank the attack for 1 damage. And we've easily got the damage to send this character back to the Underworld deck. And probably we'll use Gildor to draw a card here. May have forgotten to do that last turn, I'm not sure. That Hunter of Lamedon will draw another card if I remember it. Apparently I don't, or I declined the response, one way or the other. Still playing very conservatively until I find out what the plot is. So I have to go find a city location. I'm actually pretty happy to see that card because the city street is a very innocuous location. It gets added so it doesn't trigger the surge. And that helps clear the quest. So we're on to phase 2 with 4 locations explored. And now we reveal the plot, and the plot is Unholy Alliance, which reveals 1 additional card from the encounter deck during the staging step, and if a hero is destroyed, we lose. Roots of Mindolium is going to be the active location. And we're taking a look at the discard pile. I'm not sure why. So we've got 3 of the locations, the 4 locations needed to clear phase 2 already. We know the plot isn't the discard one. I don't know this quest well enough to know if that's a particularly easy or difficult plot. But I'm going to quest hopefully aggressively enough to clear the active location each round. We do have to reveal 2 cards here instead of 1. But my board state's pretty solid at this point. And it's going to be 2 locations. So I've played this quest before where you can't buy a location to save your life. You can't find a location to save your life. In this playthrough, it's all locations. So get the underworld cards dealt out. I'm going to quest more aggressively so that I make sure to clear the active location. That was a mistake last round, not questing for enough to clear the active location. And this time, get yet another location. And I failed to clear the active again. So Faramir came as something of a godsend, saved me from my own bad play. Did not play aggressively enough. But now with Faramir, I'll be able to get myself out of this little location lock situation. And it's the ally betrayal, a knife in the back, which is a very, very annoying treachery. I do clear, but I do have to have an ally stab one of my heroes. So I'm counting up the numbers so I can choose one randomly. And it's number 9. Hunter of Lamedon. And he's going to be dealing 3 damage. 4 damage? Oh, I do have 3 Knights of the Swan, so 4 damage. And then he dies. But I clear the location. And we get 2 enemies from the Underworld deck. One of which is going to make an immediate attack. We'll use a chump blocker for that. It is an attack for 7. And now we've got 3 enemies to deal with. So good thing we got strong combat abilities with this deck. Now I'm just debating which one is the most urgent to clear. All the locations that I need to move on are there now. I just need to clear 1 each round. And not get overwhelmed by enemies. This is not an easy quest on Nightmare difficulty. None of the quests in this cycle are easy. The expansion quests for this cycle weren't too difficult, but the adventure pack ones, they're a challenge. So we got 1 cleared, no problem, 2 cleared, no problem, and 3 cleared, no problem. And we'll be on to the next round. We get a sneak attack for Gandalf. Plenty of resources to play Gandalf at my leisure. Definitely gonna want to clear that Traitor's Den out this round. So hopefully I will calculate better than I did in the past. only have one Ethir Swordsman. That does make questing a little more challenging. So I'm questing for 25 here, and I get a Cabal's Champion, which is a buff that goes on a villain, which we don't have one on the table. And then yet another backstab. So the backstabs and that one guy who deals damage to allies can really burn a deck in a long game. And this quest always is long. You don't have the ability to speed things up by adding more willpower, because you can only clear one location per round unless you have cards that clear locations in the staging area. Then you can do it more quickly. This encounter deck does try to punish you for that a little bit in some cases. But in this case that doesn't matter, because my deck, the Outlands deck, simply doesn't have any cards for clearing locations in the staging area. So I just have to try to prevent the damage to my allies as best I can. But in this case I was not successful, as one of my allies stabbed my hero Denethor to death and then died. So I go ahead and exhaust all my characters, and then rather than raise my threat by 5, and because I don't have any combat to do, I can just leave that enemy in the staging area for now. Cleared 2 locations at this point, 2 more to go. Defeating the villain shouldn't be a problem. Still only one Ethir Swordsman. And we got yet another. And there's the third knife in the back. I'm not sure how many are in the encounter deck. This seems likely to kill another one of my heroes. Number 8. Another Hunter of Lamedon. It's gonna kill Gildor or Hirluin, so I chose Gildor. So I have one hero remaining, and still a ways to go in this one. But plenty of allies. This quest does punish ally swarm decks, no doubt about that. I do clear the location, which is going to move the progress to 3. And we're going to decide to clear out the sewers, one of them. And now I'm debating whether I want to engage. But the problem is that I realized that if I move to the location, if the active location has a face down card, you can't deal damage to the Faithless Conspirator. So before I move, I go ahead and sneak attack Gandalf to deal 4 damage. And it's again an inefficient use of Gandalf. It had to be done before traveling there, and I did want to travel there. So, yeah, nothing can be done about that really. I felt that it needed to be done so that I didn't get too much buildup of those 4 threat guys. So we get a local trouble, that's not too big a deal, and a blank surge to Houses of the Dead. And I am going to clear the sewers, which brings a Zealous Traitor, and wishing I had a sneak attack for that, but I do not. That is the 4th location. So that's going to move us on to revealing the villain and adding it to the staging area. And the villain is Daughter of Beruthiel. Can't be optionally engaged. After she attacks, you have to raise threat, or she returns to the staging area. You have to raise threat by 4. And I need to shuffle cards into the encounter deck. shuffle the underworld deck into the encounter deck. So I need 15 progress, and I need to defeat the villain. Gonna go ahead and move to the next sewers location, and I have to deal some damage to my allies thanks to Zealous Traitor. And we engage the villain as well. I don't think I have the damage to take her. Well, she's only 8 to take her out. Let's see if I do after defending the attacks. It's going to go on a chump blocker. So I got to raise threat by 4. And I'm going to have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have to take the penalty from local trouble, which is threat raising, if I want to take out the villain this round. And I do, because though it costs me 1 threat to exhaust to attack and then 1 threat when I ready up, that's better than the 4 threat it would cost me to keep Daughter of Beruthiel in the staging area 1 more round, or in the combat area 1 more round. So threat should be at 44 now, 43, and then it'll go to 44 in the refresh phase, plus 45 for the normal threat. So should be 45 now, but that's no problem. I've got Gandalf to lower threat. I got 20 resources. Just need 15 progress. And I got a Men of the West, so I'm going to make use of that and get out 3 Hunters of Lamedon. Still only have 1 Ethir Swordsman. Now I realize where threat should be. And I draw actually 2 more. And I could have kept drawing with, I could have drawn 2 more with Lord of Morthond. Men of the West should have been discarded. It was the 3rd Hunter of Lamedon card. So I actually get to draw 5 cards with Lord of Morthond for the 3 Hunters of Lamedon, the Ethir Swordsman, and the Anfalas Herdsman. I forgot that Men of the West should be discarded, but the leftmost one, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to have a use. So I just need to add up now how much I need to quest for, and hope that I don't get another ally stabby card. If there are any more in the encounter deck, I'm not sure, but if there are and I got another one, I'd lose at this point, I think. Unless the Envoy of Pelargir did the stabbing, which would be pretty lucky. But if that doesn't happen, then I'll win here. Questing for 45. And we get a... Well, I'm not sure what to do with that because there is no Underworld deck anymore. So I guess that doesn't do anything, just surges. We get 2 enemies, Zealous Traitor and the Bandit. They do stuff when they're engaged. Fortunately, they won't be. So it's 17. And so I make 28 progress. More than enough. So, that's a long quest. It's got interesting mechanics. It's got some annoying treachery cards for sure. The ally stabby one is really nasty. The Zealous Traitor is pretty nasty when you get multiples of them. So this is a challenging nightmare quest. It's a long one, it's a grind. Unless you're playing a deck optimized for it, which takes locations out of the staging area. Even then, sometimes you just get unlucky and you don't get a lot of cards in the staging area. You just have to fight and you get threaded out in the end. But this playthrough was relatively smooth thanks to a bunch of locations coming early. So, thanks for watching.